Well, hot off the press, the government just held its first budget, October. And there's a massive amount in there, both in the way of direct and indirect taxes, incentives and government direction. And they will have a big part to play in us EV drivers, both existing drivers and also some really big changes for those who are likely to be getting a PHEV, HEV or an electric car as a company car or salary sacrifice. There are big changes there. I'm Dave. Welcome to Dave Takes It On. Well, just looking at some of the headlines, there's over £2 billion going in over 5 years to support the automotive sector. That includes zero-emission vehicle manufacturing sector and supply chain, providing the long-term certainty that industry needs to invest in advanced greener technologies. That was the one big thing that came out when the 2030 ban on the new sale of new ICE car only, no, not hybrids or EVs, was put back by the previous government to 2035. It just raised a huge amount of uncertainty. What should manufacturers do? Go back to making ICE cars, keep doing what they're doing, threw in uncertainty. This government has come out and straight away it said there's certainty in the industry. The UK's clean energy sector will benefit from £3.9 billion in funding from 2025 to 2026 for carbon capture, usage and storage and projects to decarbonise industry and contracts with 11 green hydrogen producers. Green hydrogen, that's the key here, not blue hydrogen, which the oil companies are trying to con you into having to buy off them, because they'll just make it from fossil fuels. It's cheaper for them and it keeps their oil industry going. This specifically says green hydrogen producers, and later on in the document it talks about electrolytic green hydrogen producers. In other words, it has to be done using electricity to electrolyse the water to produce hydrogen and oxygen. There was a whole section on net zero and clean energy and commitment. The transition to net zero and delivering on the government's clean energy superpower mission is central to understanding sustainable, resilient, long-term growth. The government will deliver this transition in a way that captures economic opportunities, securing investment and growth in clean energy industries across the UK. Well, they go on to say they're taking steps to unblock and drive investment into UK's clean energy industries. It's a common problem. We come across it all the time filming, where EV charger locations take up to a year to get connected to the grid. They have reversed the de facto ban on onshore wind in England, which will help deliver cheap, reliable and clean energy across the UK. Previous government put big restrictions on offshore wind farms. Offshore wind farms are much less hassle to the communities. Most people can't see them. And they also get far more wind. But the government, for whatever reason, they decided to make connecting those offshore wind farms to the national grid virtually impossible. So they ground to a halt. This government is evening up the field. It will make connecting the offshore wind farms exactly the same as connecting onshore. They also approved 4 major solar projects, each totaling nearly 2 gigawatts, and that enables the creation of thousands of jobs. And they've secured £34.8 billion of private investment into the UK's clean energy industries around the International Investment Summit. Well, the budget builds on the first steps and seeks to maximise the growth opportunities of the net zero transition and grow UK clean energy industries by providing, well, as we've already mentioned, £3.9 billion of funding for carbon capture. They're delivering the first steps of the Clean Energy Superpower mission with £125 million in the 2025-26 for Great British Energy. That's going to be headquartered in Aberdeen, much needed up there because the oil industry is gradually shutting down up there. But to centre the headquarters up there in Aberdeen is a very good move. They're also saying that nuclear will play a part, they think, They specifically cite Sizewell C. They are looking to raise equity from private investors, private companies and private investors. So they're very cautious on this one. They're saying that they think there's a future for nuclear, but it's going to depend on the private investors. And I think they're just setting us up to discovering that they're not going to get the private investors. Renewable energy, even solar panels and batteries together, are far, far cheaper than nuclear power stations, and they will be able to be implemented very much quicker. So here we go. This is what I said before. The government will provide support for the first round of electrolytic hydrogen production contracts, harnessing renewable energy to decarbonise industry across the length and breadth of the UK. So there we go. Green energy from electrolysis. They're going to be accelerating grid connections and building new network infrastructure, and that's central to unblocking private investment, delivering growth in clean energy industries and growth sectors like AI, data centres and manufacturing. Government is working with the new National Energy System Operator, NESO, and Ofgem to develop a robust grid connection process to ensure viable projects are completed in a timely manner. So again, just fleshing out these a little bit. If there's blockages in the system, providing the systems are viable, they're going to be fast-tracked now and be connected into the system. The same goes for EV charging installation. If you build an EV charging installation, it's all ready to go. That should be fast-tracked now to be connected into the grid so they can turn it on. So there's a big move to decarbonise industry, lot of transformation going on there, and there's a big focus on electric vehicles to decarbonise the transport industry. So the government now, they've acknowledged there's more than 1 million cars on the roads, and they're committed to phasing out new cars that rely solely on internal combustion engines by 2030. This was in their manifesto. They're going to take Rishi Sunak's 2035 date, which he extended, and bring it back to 2030. What it will do, it will bring a lot of certainty into the industry. They're going to have to say, less than 6 years to go, just over 5, they're going to have to say, let's go all in on EVs, and that's what we need for the future. So the transition to EVs is crucial to decarbonising transport, and they will support growth and productivity across the whole of the UK. Government is building on this by investing 200 million 2025-26 to accelerate EV charge point rollout, installing new chargers, including specific funding to support local authorities to install on-street charge points across the UK, across England. This will build on the existing UK's charging network, which continues to grow at a pace with over 70,000 public charge points. People say there aren't enough chargers out there. Got 70,000 of them. Just to put that into context, there's about 8,000 petrol stations. That's it. Okay, so they're going to provide 120 million throughout 2025-26 towards the purchase of new electric vans and a plug-in grant to support the manufacture of wheelchair-accessible EVs, and maintaining tax incentives to purchase electric cars through vehicle excise duty first-year rates and the company car tax regimes, as well as by extending 100% first-year allowances for electric cars and charge points for a further year. So very much behind EVs. So once again, anyone out there who thinks the government isn't supporting EVs, this one is. They're also having a look into decarbonising aviation. You'll hear the term decarbonising an awful lot. And what this means is using a fuel that doesn't involve carbon. Every fuel, fossil fuel, is carbon-based. It's organic, it's animals, it's plant life, everything rotting down, all carbon-based. As opposed to solar energy, which is renewable, wind power, which is renewable, and involves no carbon whatsoever. And it's the burning of fossil fuels, which are heavy in carbon, that produces the carbon dioxide that many scientists today are saying is what's changing the climate. So we're going to look at section 471 here. And this one's to do with transport. Some of it is just a clarification of things I've mentioned before. So it says, transport is the key to government's clean energy mission. State settlement provides further support to decarbonise the transport sector by investing over 200 million, 25-26, to accelerate the rollout of electric vehicle charging infrastructure, including the funding to the local authorities for street charging. Plus the extra money for electric vans and wheelchair access. So we're going to look now at Section 474. Department for Energy and Security and Net Zero provides total funding of 14.1 billion for the year 2025-2026. This is equivalent to an annual average real-term growth rate of 22% from 2023 and 2024. So this is a big increase. So the government's taking this very seriously. So Section 475, making Britain a clean energy superpower, one of the 5 missions of this government. Great Britain Energy is on its way. It's the heart of the mission. We've already mentioned this is going to be headquartered in Aberdeen. Carbon capture, hydrogen, industries, warm home, they've already been announced. The settlement also provides for over 1 billion of funding over 3 years to fund hundreds of local energy schemes to help decarbonise the public estate through the public sector decarbonisation scheme. There are lots of schemes building up where a local group will get together and raise funding, and they'll install a massive wind turbine, which will benefit society. This is obviously to encourage those. They're also reporting, as mentioned, that nuclear will provide a role in the future, size well be. But it does say that the process to raise equity and debt for the project will shortly move to its final stages, will conclude in the spring. So no immediate action. As with other major multi-year commitments, a final investment decision on whether to proceed with the project will be taken in phase 2 of the spending review. So they haven't yet confirmed it's going ahead. As I say, I think this is just to cover them in case they don't actually get the funding that they need. Okay, coming directly now on to Section 576, the Energy Profits Levy. From the 1st of November 2024, the EPL will rise 3 percentage points from 35% to 38%. The investment allowance will be abolished and the rate of the decarbonisation allowance will be set at 66%, so its cash value is maintained. To provide certainty and to support a stable energy transition, the government will make no additional changes to tax relief available within EPL. So once again, the government is saying we're on a green route, we're on a clean energy route, we are world leaders in this, and this is here to stay. This is not going to change, not like the last government. So the levy will end on the 31st of March 2030. So the oil and gas industries will be paying this levy 38% of excess profits for the next 5 years. So big investment from them into the renewable energy scheme. They're going to look for long-term stability and predictability in the oil and gas regime, and they're going to publish a consultation in early 25 on how the taxation of oil and gas profits will respond to price shocks after the EPL ends. Now, relief for payments made into carbon capture usage and storage. So they're going to encourage people to invest in this as an industry. Also, we got consultation on offshore oil and gas developments. Climate change levy, main and reduced rates, 2025, 26 and 27. Main rates of the climate change levy, which is on your fuel bill, your oil, electricity and gas bill in your houses. That will be updated operated in line with retail price index, and the main rate for liquefied petroleum will continue to be frozen. We come on to fuel duty now. There's been no movement in fuel duty. It's been frozen again. They've basically said that they are worried about if the price of driving goes up at a time when the economy is still a little bit fragile. So they are putting it off, kicking it down the road for another year. It is going to go up, but it's not going to go up this year on fuel duty. The big one is company car tax rates for 2027, 28, 29, 29, 30. The government is setting rates for company car tax to provide long-term certainty for taxpayers and industry. CCT rates will continue to strongly incentivise the take-up of electric vehicles, while rates for hybrid vehicles will be increased to align more closely with rates for full internal combustion engines, to focus support onto pure electric vehicles. So your public PHEVs, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, and your HEVs, they're going to go out of fashion. The company car tax rates are going to be going up. So for companies who are using things like salary sacrifice and giving people, their employees, company cars, it's very soon going to be cheaper to get a full electric car for both the company, the employer, and the employee. So you're going to see a switch away from the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles and into full electric vehicles. And obviously this is a couple of years away. This is a stage thing, but in the meantime, people are out there driving around in PHEVs, and they're learning a little bit about the cars. Sad to say, I've done a video on this recently, launched it, and the vast majority of PHEVs are driving around on full petrol. They just couldn't be bothered. They get a company car, it's got a battery and it's got a petrol tank. They get a company credit card for the fuel. They don't give them anything for the battery. So 99% of people are just driving around on the fuel card, and it's like driving an ICE car. And that's why the government is finally bringing those more into line with pure ICE cars, because that's what they are. The appropriate percentages for cars with emissions of 1 to 50 grams per CO2 per kilometre now includes hybrid vehicles. That's going to rise to 18%. EVs are 9%, and it's going to go up in stages, 19% the year after. Appropriate percentage for all other vehicle bans will increase by 1 percentage point per year. From 2028 onwards. The maximum AP will also increase by 1 percentage point per year to 38% in 2028 and 39% in 2029. This means that for vehicle bans with emissions of 51 grams of CO2 per kilometre and over, these are your big gas guzzlers, the appropriate percentages will increase more and more and more. It's no longer going to be as attractive to get a big gas guzzling company car, which is subsidised, because they won't be. Came on to vehicle excise duty for cars, vans and vehicles. Now there's going to be some confusion here. We're going to produce another video to explain everything. We did one a little while back which says what's happening at the moment, and this one is what's happening from the 1st of April onwards. But anything that it hasn't covered, we have to assume is just going to carry on if it's not countermanded by this regulation. So this is quite sketchy. The first thing it's going to say, the government will update standard vehicle excise duty rates for cars, vans and motorcycles, excluding first year rates for cars, in line with the RPI from April 1st, 2025. Fairly obvious. First year rates. Now, this is a change. The government will change the VAD first year rates for new cars registered on or after the 1st of April 2025. Nothing before then. So 1st of April 2025. And it's designed to strengthen incentives to purchase zero emission and electric cars by widening the differentials between zero emission, hybrids and internal combustion engines. In other words, they're going to start adjusting the rates of the first year of your vehicle excise duty, what I call road tax, so that it's much more attractive to go full EV straight away. They've given a promise that up until 2030, zero emission cars, this is full battery cars, will always pay the lowest first year rate, which is £10, until 2030. All the others will see an increase of that first year rate, and that will go up to £110 for next year, and then it'll go up every year, whereas the EV one will stay at £10 right the way through for the first year until 2030. All other rates for cars emitting 76 grams per kilometre of CO2 and above, listen to this one, will double from the current level for 2025-26. I get so many comments below and so many emails saying, oh, I can't be doing with all this EV faff and fuss and kerfuffle. I'm just going to keep my old 20-year-old car and I'll just drive that until it falls apart. Unfortunately, you already pay a massive amount in road tax, and this is going to double it from next year. And I suspect that each year goes by, they will double and double and double again, and they will drive people off the road simply with the road tax. Once again, there are people with older cars who are tax-free, and I suspect those are going to get hammered as well, although they are a very, very small number, and so quite possibly they will just be ignored. But these cars, average age of car is scrapped at in the UK is 14 years. Some of these cars on the road are 20, 25, 30 years old. They can't keep going forever. They just become totally uneconomical. You put them in for an MOT and you need £2,000 worth of welding. You can just go out and buy a better car for £2,000 or £3,000 and save your money. And so they will find that these cars are just being priced off the road. Another interesting one is the VED expensive car supplement. The government recognises the disproportionate impact of the current VED expensive car supplement threshold for those purchasing zero-emission cars and will consider raising the threshold for zero-emission cars only at a future fiscal event to make it easier to buy electric cars. At the moment, you have a threshold. If your car new after the 1st of April 2025 costs more than £40,000, you pay a much higher rate of vehicle excise duty or road tax for the rest of the life of the car. That applies also to EVs, but on EVs, a lot of them are unfortunately more expensive. So the government has recognised, and they are going to look at this. They talk about a future fiscal event. It probably means the spring budget. They're going to look at that and they're going to say, is it reasonable? Are we allowing people to get into EVs in sufficient numbers without saddling them with this expensive car supplement? So we're quite likely to see that go up to a much more realistic level where, I don't know, 60, 70, £80,000, where that actually is an expensive car. There are so many cars today, around about 25, 30, 35, £40,000. They're not regarded as expensive anymore. So the government might well take that up to a much more realistic level. Again, it's all designed to drive them into electric cars. Well, those are the headlines. There's lots more to go into, and there's lots more detail to go into for each of these subjects. But this has given you a good idea of what's happening. As a general rule, it's pretty good for EVs. EVs will have to start paying vehicle excise duty from next year, new vehicles, and others which up until now, like me, have been free, will see us starting to have to pay. For me in an older EV, it means that mine will only ever be £10 a year. That's my rate for the foreseeable future, probably going up with inflation, maybe £1 a year or £1 every 5 years. So there's going to be a bit of a drive for older EVs, which are pre-2018. And these then will just have £10 a year road tax, whereas the others will start getting proportionately more and more charge for that vehicle excise duty. So there's an awful lot happening, but the big message here for everyone out there, if you take any message away, this government is serious in what it's doing. So thanks very much for watching. If you like the video, please click the like button. If you want to see the follow-up videos, please subscribe and we can notify you every time we release a video so you don't miss that one. And big thank you, as always, to our Patreon members who support the channel and allow us to make these videos. So thanks for watching. I'm Dave.